I'm Chef Lisa Kaye, Executive Chef and owner of Lisa Kaye Catering. Today, I'm going to be demonstrating a vegetarian lasagna with a white cream sauce. So first of all, what you want to do when you're getting ready to cook anything, you want to gather all your materials, have all your ingredients ready, which is called mise en place, and that's exactly what I have done here today. So we're going to start out with making sure that we have a pot of water boiling, and I'm going to season my water with some salt, sea salt, and just a little bit of oil just to keep the noodles from sticking. Because we are making a half pan of lasagna, we are going to use about 9 noodles. And we're just going to place them into the hot water that's boiling. Mine is already at a simmer. I had it going for a while. 2, 4, 6, 8. I think 8 might be enough, but let's do one more. I always do one extra because sometimes mine's ready. So I have my noodles in the pot already, getting ready to boil and get done. And while that's getting ready, I'm going to go ahead and make my sauce. So we're going to start out with our butter, like half a stick of butter. And once that butter melts, we're going to add our two nice large bulbs of garlic minced. I'm going to add that. And we're going to give that a stir and let that saute in there and just get all that butter and garlic mixed in really good. We're going to have that just cook not less than like 20 seconds or so. Okay. And our pan should be nice and warm. And so we are going to add flour, which is going to give us a nice roux. And this is just 1 cup of flour. Stir that in there really well. And this is what we call a roux, like I said. So we just have our butter, garlic. You don't have to always have the garlic when you making a roux, but because I'm doing lasagna, I want to have that extra flavoring. So the roux is actually ready. I'm just gonna let it cook just a little bit. And then I'm going to check the temperature. And then I'm going to add both my stock as well as my cream. We're going to add both of those together. Okay, and then we're going to bring that to a nice simmer. We're going to give it a nice quick stir. Let it simmer just a little bit. Not a whole lot, just about a good minute or two, just to get that all that flour and the garlic and everything cooked in really well with the butter and the juices. So I'm going to let that cook just a little bit. And while that's coming to, I'm waiting on that to simmer, and when after that simmer, we're going to end up adding our wonderful cheeses and get that sauce made up. But in the meantime, we have our vegetables that we're going to incorporate into our, like I said, with vegetarian lasagna. We have tomatoes, I have zucchini and squash, and some asparagus, because I love asparagus. The zucchini and squash is just diced like a half moon, and I love that. And then our mushrooms, we have sliced mushrooms. So I'm going to go ahead and just slice up my asparagus, which I am just doing on a bias plant. It's really pretty. So I'll just add that with the rest of my vegetables. And I only cut half because you don't want to get the stems on asparagus because they get really tough. So you want to discard those. So I have my zucchini, I have my squash, I have my asparagus, I have my tomatoes already cut, sliced in half. And these are just regular cherry tomatoes. And we have our mushrooms, white mushrooms that's already sliced. I have all those sliced already. I'm going to give our little thing here just a quick stir, because it's going to really, really, really make sure that that roux is really nice and cooked in here. It's going to be really nice. So we want to make sure that all that roux is cooked. And it looks like I don't see any lumps. So we are going to add our cheeses. So I have here a cup and a half of mozzarella, shredded mozzarella. And I have 2 cups of Parmesan. I like more Parmesan taste than the mozzarella because it gives that really good tangy taste. I love it. And then we're just going to give that a quick stir, and it's going to get really nice and thick, and it's going to taste so good. And then I'm going to give it a taste because I always like to taste before I start adding a bunch of seasonings. But only thing I'm going to add in here anyway, like I said, we already have the garlic. I'm just probably going to add just a little bit of oregano, a little bit of garlic, and then that's the same thing we're going to season our noodles with as well. Just maybe like a teaspoon of each. Look at that. Oh. So this is what we want. This is your consistency. This is what it should look like. But we're going to let this simmer, and we're going to set this aside. Just let it simmer just on low, and all of that cheese is going to melt, and it's going to be so good. Okay, so we already have that done. So now what we're going to do is go ahead and get our vegetables all cooked up. So we have our zucchini and our squash. I used 1 zucchini, 1 squash, maybe about the size of these. And only thing I did, I'm just going to show you a quick way what I did. I just sliced it in half, and then I sliced it in half again. And then because the zucchini and my squash is very small anyway, we don't have to cut out the inside. But I'm going to show you something. All we have to do is just slice it. And now you have some really nice round half moons. And that's what you want. As same as your zucchini. Now the zucchini, sometimes they get kind of large, and if you do use some very large zucchini or squash, when you cut it in half, and you have the half moon, but the inside is really thick. So you want to cut it in half again. And then as you can see the rib meat, you want to take some of that out. So what you do is just take your knife and just go down, not too deep, but just take some of that rib out of there. And then it give you flatter pieces. And I do that because this can get really soft when it cooked, and I don't like that taste in my mouth, and I don't like the consistency of it. So I just kind of like want it really nice and smooth and more meat. And only thing I do, you still have your half moon shapes. Okay? But like I say, if you have very small zucchini and squash, all you have to do is just slice it in half and then slice it in half again. You don't have to quarter it so that you can take out the rib meat because it's already nice and small. So our sauce seems like it's ready. Look at there. Ah, that is so good. Really nice and thick, and that's what you want, because once we pour it onto our noodles, we don't want it to be too thin, because when it's time to cut our lasagna, when it's done, it's going to be very runny, and you don't want that. Look at that. So, sorry about that. I am going to set this aside. And we are going to do our vegetables. I want to give this a quick taste. Look how thick that is. Oh, that looks so wonderful. I just want to give it a quick taste, see if I need to add a little bit of salt. That is so good. I don't think we need any salt at all. That's so good. So we're going to look at our noodles, and it looks like they've been boiling for 8 to 10 minutes, and that's about all you need. So we're going to remove this from the heat, take it over to the sink and strain it, run some water on it so it can stop the cooking process, and then we're going to saute our vegetables, and then we're ready to build our lasagna. I'm going to drain it. I'm going to immediately run some cold water on it so that it can stop. So it seems like our skillet is nice and hot, so we're going to add just a little bit of oil, maybe a tablespoon of oil, And what I like to do first is always saute my um, mushrooms first. We have about 16 ounces of mushrooms, and I'm going to just pour that in there. And I definitely love to season my mushrooms. I don't season anything else. And I have a little bit, I have a half a teaspoon of thyme, a half a teaspoon of oregano, and a tablespoon of garlic, and a half a teaspoon of salt. So we're just gonna season our mushrooms up here. We're gonna probably use the rest of this because we're gonna saute, we're gonna make sure that we use, season all our vegetables. The one thing about me, I season everything from the noodles on. We're gonna get us a quick, now the mushrooms will saute for a while, a good while. You want those to get very nice and sauteed, get some color on there, and make sure that they're seasoned and tender. Because once I add the rest of my vegetables, we are not actually cooking those. We're just getting them in there with the mushrooms, add a little bit more seasoning in there, toss them, and we're going to remove it right away. So we don't really have to cook these because they're very soft and thin cut that they're going to cook in a lasagna, and you don't want them to get too soggy. We still want to have them a little bit al dente. One thing about mushrooms too, mushrooms soak up a lot of oil, butter, with no matter what you use. So I used about one more squirt of our, then there was probably another 2 teaspoons. But I want my mushrooms very, very sauteed, very brown, nice coloring. I love it. And this is one of my favorite meals to make because a lot of people are always making the meat lasagna, the red lasagna with the beef, with the chicken, turkey. But I made the white lasagna before for a meeting, and everybody just loved it and wanted the recipe. So this is one of a really good meal. It doesn't take a lot, and then it freezes really good too. So you want to look at those mushrooms. They're getting really, really nice and toasty. So I'm gonna crank up this heat. Right now I have it on 375 because it's electric, but I have it, so that's kind of like a medium heat. I'm gonna go to a high heat which is 425, because I really want to get some color on my mushrooms, and I don't want to take it all day long because they're gonna cook in the oven. Look at that. Yeah. That's what I love. It's one of my go-tos. So we have, let me tell you a little bit about our spinach. A spinach, we took off the stem. You don't have to. It depends on what you like. I like to take off the stem, even though the nutrients are more in the stem, because I worked at the country club and everything was about presentation, and so they always took the stem off all the spinach every time, no matter what we were doing. Even a pasta fest, they took the stems off, and I like that. And I kind of like patterned my company, Lisa Kaye Catering, after the country club. O'Clock Country Club, my chef, Darwin. And I just love his style of cooking, his presentation of everything. And so I'm like, okay, if this is good enough for a country club, it's good enough for Lisa Kaye Catering. So I think my mushrooms are cooked enough. They are so beautiful, so caramelized. And so what I'm going to do is take my bowl of zucchini and squash. I have one medium sliced zucchini, one medium sliced squash, and then I have 8 sprigs of asparagus. So we're going to put that in here. Give it a quick stir. And while those are on top, I'm going to just add just a little bit of seasoning. So that was probably like a half a teaspoon. And remember I said I'm not cooking it all the way. I'm just getting it a little heat, get a little oil on there. And our spinach, this is probably 16 ounces of spinach. And we all know that the spinach always cook down, so it's not like we have so much spinach. And I'm going to get that incorporated. Oh, I could have used a bigger pan too. Or added my spinach in there first and cook that down. It doesn't matter. And then remember all the seasoning that we have. We're going to add the remainder of that seasoning right on top of there. It's going to be so good. And that's one of the reasons why I did not add any salt, pepper to our sauce, because cheese is salty enough. You know, you don't want to get too much salt. Okay. This is so beautiful. So beautiful. Okay. So this is, I think it should be okay. Doesn't have to be all the way cooked. Just want to get that spinach down in there, just a little bit more. So you're only cooking your vegetables probably what? After you have sauteed your spinach for about 4 or 5 minutes. The rest of your vegetables, maybe 3 minutes or so. Okay. And that's it. So this is ready. So we're going to set this aside. And we are going to get ready to make lasagna. So while I'm preparing, trying to get everything together, get our noodles ready, we have our vegetables ready, we have our sauce ready. Now we're getting ready to combine everything and make our lasagna. I just want to tell you a little bit about our stove tops that we're using. As you can see, I just took off this hot pan that has been sitting on here for a very long time, and I have my hand on it. This is an induction cooker. This is a Berghoff, and then this one is a New Wave, and the surface does not stay hot. The center gets hot, but it's not hot like if you would take something off of a regular stove. We have our regular stoves in back. And I like utilizing these with the kids as well, especially the 6 to 9 kids, because if they cook something and they accidentally have their sleeve over here, or if they touch this on the side, because you know they always want to touch this instead of holding on to the pan, they probably sometimes want to touch the surface, and it's not hot, which is a good thing. Okay, now we're back. Have everything cleaned up. All we have in front of us is what we need to build our lasagna. We have our 9 lasagna noodles, and if you wait too long to build after your noodles are done, then you want to make sure that you run water on them so that they won't stick together. So we have our 9 lasagna noodles. We have our cream sauce. We have a cup of 2 cups of Parmesan and a cup of mozzarella mix, and this is going to be going on top. We build it just like we do a regular lasagna. We have fresh parsley, which we're going to sprinkle on top to make it really pretty. When it cooks, it'll have those really pretty specks. We have some seasonings, which remember the garlic, the thyme, the oregano, and some salt. We're going to season our noodles as we go. And then we have our half pan, and then we have our vegetable mixture. If you do want to add chicken or any other type of meat, add it exactly like we're adding our vegetables when it's time. So what we're going to do is just take a little bit of sauce, and we're going to put it in the bottom of our pan, and we're going to mix, you know, just kind of like paver, so it won't stick. Our noodles won't stick, because the next thing we're going to do is put our noodles down. We're going to make 2 layers. Each layer should have 4 lasagna noodles. So we have our sauce down. So we're going to do our noodles. We're going to do one. We're just going to put them right up to close to the side as possible. And we don't have to overlap, because we have enough noodles. So we're going to put it right next to each other, where it's just a very little, like a 1/4 of an inch apart, so they can together, so that the sauces won't go through the noodles. They just stay on top. And I'm going to add 1 more, and that's 4. It's plenty of space. Okay. So what we're going to do next, remember I said season everything, and that's exactly what I like to do. Every single thing. So we have our seasoning mixture, and I'm just going to take that and give it a really nice season of our noodles here. And I use less salt than herbs, because I don't want it too salty. The herbs is going to add more flavor. The salt will add more saltiness, and we don't want that, because our cream sauce is already salty because of the cheese. Next, what we want to do is add our sauce. Look at that. This is going to be so good. This is one of my favorite things to make and eat. Then I feel guilty after a while, but I always make a nice salad, so they won't say I overdid it. So I got that all covered, the noodles all covered. I didn't do it really thick, just enough so when it cooks, it won't be dry. And then we're going to be using that 3 or 4 times. So next, what you want to do, your vegetables have cooled already. You want to just add as many as possible. Just take half. If you want a little bit more, and this is the time to incorporate your chicken if you want chicken. Just make sure your chicken is thoroughly cooked. Dice it as thick or as thin as you want, and then just add it on top, or just add chicken. You don't have to have the vegetables and chicken. You could do both, or you could do either or. So we have half of our vegetable mixture in here. And what I like to do, I'm a cheese freak. I love cheese. I am going to add a little bit more of our cheese sauce. Not a whole lot, but just enough. Look at that. And then I want to take our shredded cheese, put it right on top of that. So when it melts and it cooks, all this good cheese is going to be melted. It's going to be so good. So we're just going to do half. Okay? It's good. That's it. And then I'll add just a little bit of parsley on top of that. And then we're going to take the rest of our noodles. Going to make one more layer. So we're going to just follow the same steps. See, while I'm sitting here talking, my noodles are getting dry, but that's okay. I'm going to work quickly. 3, and one of them kind of tore up. That's why I always do an extra one. 4. Have that there. Dry my hands. I am going to take the rest of our seasoning, go over this. Oh, it's going to be so good. And there's no perfect way that you can do this. If you want to add cheese, the shredded cheese on top of here, you can do that. If you want to just add your melted cheese on top, you can do that. Some people do both, but you do it however you want. But I just had that there, and now I'm going to add some cheese. You can add as much or as little as you like. Look like I'll have a little extra sauce, which is fine, left, and I can make a little mini if I need to. But like I said, this freezes so well. Look at that. That is going to be so good. Oh yeah. There we go. And then I'm going to add vegetables. And then vegetables are so wet. You see all that juice? You can just squeeze it out. That's why I like to use my hands. As long as your hands are clean, who cares? Add that in there. A little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. There it is. I have my vegetables on top. I'm going to add the remainder of the cheese, a little bit of the cheese sauce, and I'm going to top it with the shredded, and we're going to go in the oven. This is a lot of goodness. And if you want to do totally vegan, just get some vegan cheese. You don't have to have the heavy cream and the butter. I don't cook with butter a whole lot anyway. I do a lot of vegetable oil, colloidal oil, olive oil. You can use that as well. So I have the rest of our cheese sauce there, and I'm just going to top the rest of it with this Parmesan and mozzarella. There you go. It's cute. It's going to look so pretty and so good. You see all those colors? When it bakes, all those colors are going to show. Add just a little bit of parsley on top. And we're going in the oven. we go. So we have our oven already set on 350. So we're going to put this in here and bake this probably about 30 to 40 minutes. Everyone's oven is totally different. But I baked lasagnas in here before, so I know it's going to take about 30 minutes for me to cook. You can also just set your timer. So while I clean up my mess, I am going to prepare a beautiful salad. Gotta have some extra vegetables and something a little bit healthier than all that cheese. So I'm going to prepare a beautiful salad. So we're going to prepare a beautiful salad with that lasagna. So what I have is some organic greens here. These are some this is a spring mix. So we have a little bit of green leaf, spinach, curly leaves, some really beautiful leaves. So, and only thing I do is just, like I said, I season everything. I just give it just a little bit of seasoning. I see with just a little bit of salt, because what I'm doing, I don't want the really heavy, creamy dressing because of the lasagna. So I'm gonna use a balsamic and oil-based dressing. A couple things that I get from Oro olive oil and Wauwatosa. They have the best dressings and oils and balsamics ever. And I didn't make any myself, so I'm going to use some of theirs. So I seasoned my greens with a little bit of salt. I'm going to add the herb de Provence. The herb de Provence is one of my favorite. It have all the herbs that I love. It have the oregano, it have the thyme, it have a little bit of basil, it have garlic. It's so many things that was infused in this oil, and I love it. So only thing, I just give it a little drizzle. So I think that was probably like a tablespoon, but I love it. And I don't like my greens dry. So I add a nice amount and just give it a little stir. I'm not gonna mix all my vegetables in here because I like to see all my vegetables. But what I am going to do is just add a little bit of balsamic. This is a balsamic, and this is I think this is a 40. This is a chocolate balsamic from Oro, and it's so good. When you go there, you can taste all of the oils, infused oils, all of the balsamics. They have like at least 20, 30 of them, or if not more. So I'm just going to give that a little drizzle. Toss that, and you can add as much or as little as you like. So now I am going to plate. So I'm going to take my plate. And me, I like to have more greens than I do lasagna. So I'm going to give it a really nice amount of greens. Believe me, I will eat all of this. I think that's enough. And then we have our red onions. Just going to go right on top here. And then we have some black olives. I think I even have some craisins in there. I'm going to end up adding to that because I love craisins. And then I have our cherry tomatoes. And I'm just going to grab those and just give it just a little bit of sprinkle of the salt. And I'm going to add a little bit of the herb de Provence on there. Just give it a little extra flavor. But I want them on top. That's the reason why I didn't mix them with my salad. Because I like all that beautiful color. There I go. So you have a beautiful salad to go with your lasagna. And I cannot wait to eat. Timer went off. 30 minutes. Let's see. Oh, it's beautiful. Woohoo. Oh, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Ooh. So we're going to let this sit for about 10 minutes. Let it cool, and then we're going to go in. Go around the sides. And we are going in. Ooh, look at that. Just enough for me. Oh, that's great. I want to grab the rest of my veggies here. So we're going to set this aside. for tasters dinner, and I am going to take a quick taste. See all those, let me lift it up, all those vegetables. Look at the tomatoes, the mushrooms, you have zucchini. Right in that little bite you have about two. Look at that, just beautiful. All the great sauce, this is wonderful. Just want to give it a quick taste just to make sure. This is great, I love it. So those of you who want to purchase, we're doing a take and bake. You can bake it yourself. Otherwise, we can fully cook it for you, and you can pick it up anytime, starting tomorrow, 2 o'clock or so, until 6. And also on tomorrow's Wednesday, and also Wednesday and Thursday. Feel free to stop over, give us a call, email us, chef@lisakaycatering.com. The K is Kaye, chef@lisakaycatering.com. Send me a message if you want to purchase a take and bake, or if you want a fully cooked white lasagna with chicken, or just a vegetarian. Let me know, and I can make it happen for you. This is so